Hello, good morning. Ad and Fish here from Testry Marketing, and I just wanted to add a little bit of context to this video before we kick things off. So we're going to be going through the process of we're launching a couple of new offers, low ticket offers, in addition to the kind of the premium bespoke stuff we've been doing up until now. And before we do that, we want to do kind of take our own medicine. Is that the term?
I think so.
Take the advice we give to our clients,
something like that,
and go through the process of actually getting clear on who the avatar is for this service. So it's our first time using the studio in this respect, so hopefully it all works properly. But what happened is we were doing this process for one of the services on Monday, and I said to Ad, it'd be quite cool we actually sat in these chairs while we were doing it, and I said to Ad, it'd be quite cool to record this kind of content for people. And then I had a bit of a doubt where I was like, actually, is it going to make us look like we don't really know what we're doing? But then Ad actually helpfully, I think, said no, because we don't need to pretend we have all the answers, and this is the actual process we're going through, and it'd be useful to share that with people.
Yeah, I think the reason I was keen to challenge the thinking is this is part of the marketing process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what people do is they'll spend forever and a day creating the perfect product that they're going to launch, and then get it out there, and without getting super clear on who they're going to target with this new offer, it's going to make life very hard to sell it. So, we know what the program is going to be. We know what the two offers are. Now we need to decide who specifically we're going to make it most applicable to first. Because one thing's for sure, when you create anything, there's probably a number of different avatars and different target markets that would find it useful. And I think if you try and go out to all of them at the same time and be really broad in the approach, the impact will be less and the results will be worse.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think this offer specifically is the content.
Yeah, so we did it for the consulting, didn't we? So this is for the content concierge service. So we'll just pretend the camera's not here and we'll go through the process like we did on Monday.
Yeah, I think it's useful just because the camera is here. Just what is it, like very briefly, what is the offer?
So Content Concierge is a done-for-you content service, and it is a monthly service delivered weekly, essentially. So it is a weekly email, because that is the kind of cornerstone of a lot of what we do for clients, is creating that consistency on email marketing. And then that's something we were doing last year. We are building on it this year and repurposing that content and turning it into content for LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram as well. Partly because we think that's the right thing to do, to kind of repurpose content and get the most out of it, but also because that's what we've seen a lot of demand for. We get a lot of people talking particularly about LinkedIn, going, do you do LinkedIn stuff? What can you do for my LinkedIn? So we felt for both those reasons, it made sense to kind of adapt the existing service and include LinkedIn in it.
Cool. So let's just crack on now. So I think first step is let's look at who the ideal candidate is for this.
Yeah, I was thinking about it this morning because I was thinking about...
And I'll make the notes so that we've got this.
Yeah, clients that I've worked with previously when we did ink emails, and I know it's not the same, but that was, I think, 500 quid a month. And I was trying to rack my brains about who we did it for, and I was struggling to come up with... We did it for... There was a serviced IT company who... I think... 6 figures, the kind of low to mid 6 figures. They didn't have much of a team. They hadn't really been doing much email marketing, and they wanted to, so that's why they went with us. There was a guy who was an action coach, essentially a solopreneur, but he had like an assistant type thing, had an email list. So the first one I mentioned had an email list. He had an email list and wasn't emailing it and knew the value of that. The third one was a local locksmith, like home security type business, did CCTV and locksmith and that kind of stuff. They had an email list. They had a shitload.
What sort of size email list are we thinking? Also, I'm writing these down, so
Yeah, I can't remember. I think they had years worth of customers. 6,000 maybe. I think the Action Coach guy had a couple of thousand. Probably they all had probably 1,000 plus.
1,000, yeah, because 6,000 is quite big.
Because I was thinking about this morning whether you look at. I don't think it's necessarily determined by size of business as much as what we looked at yesterday was, or on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
More so, I think you're going to get solopreneurs who have been writing their own emails and don't want to anymore. And that probably applies to not just solopreneurs, to be fair, but people who've been writing emails and don't want to keep writing them. So they've
Solopreneurs, as in just small business owners that don't really have any other team members, or maybe a VA or something.
But maybe that's too defined. But I think it's for now. But I think it's going to be people who are sending emails and don't want to have to write them themselves, or people who've got an email list and aren't sending them. I think people who've got a list and aren't sending emails are probably the sweet spot. And I don't know.
Writing emails and sending, or just
No, they're not sending emails. So
Oh,
they've got a list. And I think the people who are the pain's greater for them because it's like, what am I missing out on? Versus for people who are sending emails, it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the arse if someone else could do it, but then also they're going to be more emotionally attached to the. It's like we were talking about the other day. I wouldn't let anyone else write my emails.
Yeah. So they need to know that, ideally, that it's something they're missing out on.
I think so. I think I don't know. Like for Perfect, I think they need to believe they have an email list, or believe, because when we spoke to people, they're like, I haven't got an email list, and they have. They've just got it in a spreadsheet, or
Yeah.
what have you. I don't think they'd be a good fit because I think they're immediately going to discount themselves.
Okay. Well, if we look at, and this is a whittling down process, and I suppose for the camera benefit, the reason that you go through this process is so that you can, on the back of going through this process, we'll refine it. We won't go through the whole thing now. This is then what creates what you need to be able to create the message and the hook and the headline and all that sort of shit. What are you laughing at?
Just thinking your hair looks cool. It really suits you.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So the first step, basically, again for the camera, is who specifically are we looking at for this initial part of the who we're going to target for this launch. So, and again, this year will have much more work, but low to mid six figures.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know, maybe we don't do this right now, but I don't know about business size, because I also wonder if there's another avatar, which maybe is better, maybe isn't, but if you think about like someone like an Aaron, who 7-figure business, has a team, but is busy doing other stuff, and actually like businesses who are doing lots of stuff and they're inconsistent with it, like that you look on their website and they'll have a flurry of blogs in June 2024, a few more in November, and then but they lose steam and they're looking for consistency.
Yeah, I mean, without question, there'll be other avatars for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. So maybe we don't. I'm just going to strike that through for now. That's not a thing. But they've got an email list. Size to be determined, but we're thinking 1,000 plus. It could be as low as 500, 750. It depends on the certain couple of factors. But they're not sending anything out. What about the social side of things? Because obviously, is it 9 pieces of content they're going to get a week?
In total, yeah.
In total. So where does that factor
not so much
into
9 different pieces, but yeah,
no.
pieces.
But where does that factor into it? Because
good question.
We're not just selling email here; it is the other stuff. So
I don't know.
Well, I suppose the who is the one thing. The next step in the process, and we can circle back when we go through this, is what do these people want? Because that might help us get clarity on the other bits.
Yeah,
as well.
what I do think, because it's linked in, because we talked about list growth and stuff like that, I think we could just go B2B on this, because LinkedIn is very much B2B focused, and how we always targeted it with Ink emails was the avatar, which wasn't clearly defined, but I basically sussed out that if we could find people who were selling a service that cost £500 a month, which was typically B2B stuff, and we only had to get them one client, and then we were covering our cost indefinitely. So, and I think it would be interesting, but I reckon that it'd be easy to find those people charging that kind of money B2B.
Service-based businesses?
Probably.
Predominantly, yeah.
But I don't think we need to. I don't know if we need to specify that or not. Maybe we
No, and the whole point of this is there is absolutely no way when you create the message and stuff, you're going to specify all of it, but it helps crystallize where we're going with it. All right, so move on to the next thing, which is what do these people want? So I think you've said list growth. I think they want to feel, in my mind, from the conversations that we've had, they just want to feel more visible.
Yeah,
and active.
Is a big one. Yeah.
And also, I think a big one is they just want to get stuff out there, which is a part of being visible. But those are the words that they've used. I don't know who was it we were speaking to the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, I just need to get stuff out." Like, doesn't matter who, but those.
Was it yesterday?
Can't remember. But those actual words were coming out. I know that Kirsty did mention it yesterday when we did that consult, that she just needs to be making sure that the consistency remains and goes out. So they want list growth, they want visibility.
Yeah. No.
They want to get stuff out there.
Probably not always, but probably ego comes into it for some people when they want to be positioned as an expert. They want people to see them as an expert.
What else? If I think about why do we want to do the same thing? Because arguably we would fall into our own target market in terms of what we do, business size, offer a service, B2B.
I think if it is people want to be able, don't want to have to rely on paid ads, they want to have some engagement organically that they can turn into leads, because they want leads, don't they, ultimately?
Yeah, ultimately.
And also, I'd argue they want leads more than they actually want customers. The customers is secondary. If you said what you're looking for, they'd probably say leads. They probably wouldn't say more customers, I reckon. Yeah,
I mean, how many conversations have we had with people, and I can think of a couple off the top of my head, that when we've sat down and done a consult and we're going, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just utilize everything that you've got to generate some new customers and new money, and they go, well, no, I just want some more leads. Like, you don't need to. You don't need the leads.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not important, but
yeah, we've got a list of 10,000 people we haven't contacted for some time, but we definitely need some new ones.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for now on what they want? List growth, visibility, getting stuff out there, positioning, organic engagement, leads, which I suppose is list growth anyway.
I don't. It's not really a want. It's more of a kind of what they don't want, and I think is when they know they've got. Like, a lot of them have been around for a while. They've heard all the advice. They should be keeping in touch with people consistently, and they don't want the. Like, oh, fucking hell, I still haven't been contacting those people. I still haven't. They're trying to get away from that. The
guilt,
kind of embarrassment, guilt. Yeah. That
like
negative feeling.
What is it that it's?
Here we go.
It's not about the stuff that you don't know. It's not doing the stuff that you do know that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that falls in, where people go, yeah, I know I should be doing that. And it's in your whole life, innit? I know I should be going to the gym or not eating that cake or drinking that wine. But yeah, that probably falls more, or definitely segues into the final part of this process for now, which is why do they want those things? List growth, visibility, get stuff out there. What's the emotion behind it? And that being one of them, that they feel that they should be, but they're not doing it. What else?
Why do they want it?
Yeah. Why do they want to get stuff out there? Why do they want list growth, visibility, all that sort of stuff? without just going to grow the business. Like, it's more than that. There's the emotional side of
deep,
things,
isn't
like
it?
the guilt.
I think some of what Kirsty alluded to yesterday a little bit is, and I think Susanna kind of touched on it before, they see other people out there, especially in their industry, who they see as like shysters, and they kind of feel it's their duty to also have their voice heard and kind of act as a bit of a beacon, I guess, to people who are getting shit advice.
Yeah, that raises a good point, and I'm not sure whether. And again, we need to figure out whether this is the thing at all. But they want to. Do they? I don't know. Do they want to position themselves differently? Like emails that they're getting hammered all the time, and it's sales. Do this, do this. Join this webinar. Go to this event. Get this free thing, and it's just like, I just don't want that shit. Like, I want to build. I want to be consistent with content, but I want it to be in a way that people get to know me. The relationship's good. They trust me, and they don't. When they see something from me, they go, oh, they don't think, well, what are you selling now?
Yeah, I actually think it's one of those funny ones where they know what they don't want, but they don't really know what they do want. So in terms of they know that they don't want to be sending shitty, because they probably get loads of shitty emails, and they don't want that, but I'm not convinced that as many people are so certain on like, here's what I want my emails to be like, or I want my content to be like. It's more
good point.
I don't want it to be like that. And I think often they don't do it because they're like, they don't want to be another dickhead putting the same stuff out.
Yeah.
And they probably want certainty as well. We talked about it and more so with the consulting stuff. I think a lot of people will be held back from doing any type of content because they'd like, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know if the algorithm's going to bum me. I don't know how to send emails, what emails I should be sending. I don't know what works, and then they end up kind of paralysed by uncertainty.
Yeah, there's definitely that side of things. I want to put content out there, and I don't know what to do,
and I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get it wrong. Overthink. I mean, I spoke on a podcast last week, and it was about content creation, and a lot of the questions from the hosts were around the paralysis by analysis, going, well, I don't want to get it wrong. I don't know what to do. I don't have anything to talk about. And that I do think that is what stops people in some respects of doing it. And if you can take that off their hands, going, look, and this is great for us to be able to make sure that we make this in the messaging, in the copy, that, look, the great news is you don't have to think about what the content is. That's our job. And I think that's a big selling point.
Yeah, I think it's that combined with certainty around, like, we know how email works, we know how LinkedIn works, we have certainty around the platforms, and those two things. Like, we're going to think of what content you need to do, and we know how those platforms work. I think it's going to give people the certainty they're craving.
Yeah, and things like when to do things on certain platforms and stuff like that, which if you don't know, there are certain rules, if you like, currently with where the algorithms work, which change every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But yeah, that sort of stuff as well. Any other reasons why? I suppose it's the opposite of what they want. They want the list growth. They want the visibility. It's like, why do you want that? Because they feel underrepresented is probably not a right word, but they just feel that not enough people know who they are and what they do.
Yeah. And actually, we're kind of going back a bit to the avatar, really, but think about the kind of businesses we like working with who have grown by word of mouth, who've grown by referrals, who've just basically got a fantastic product or service, and people buy it and tell their friends, and then they keep buying it, and they've grown, and they get to a point where they go, they're at a stage where they want to grow, but they never know where their next customer's going to, because they're just going to walk through the door because someone's referred them, but they've got no way of predicting, or it's not rhythmic in any way or consistent, and they want consistency. They want to be able to actually have a bit of a tap they can turn on and off, because at the minute they're just sat at the bottom of the river and they're just reliant on whatever flows down, and they've got no means of controlling it. And what they really want is to be able to
Turn it on. I thought you were
Turn
going to come up
those
with one of your crazy analogies then.
I'd say that wasn't an analogy, just not the kept it PG.
Kept it PG. Yeah, I think that's a good point about this process, which really all we're doing is talking about who is it specifically that this offers for, what do they want, don't want, and why do they want it, what's the emotional reason behind it. And I think if you just try and do it sequentially and go, right, we need to get all the answers to step one being who is it before you move on, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can bounce around a bit, and that was, we hadn't thought of it. The grown by word of mouth is massive to the people that we work with. So yeah, I feel that now we've got enough that from this long list of things we can crystallize it a bit more, and then create the ideal avatar, and then on the back of that we can then create the message and the hook.
Yeah, and one of our clients, Tess, uses a word that I really like. She didn't make it up, but
I know what
she
you're going to
uses
say.
it, where she likes to let things percolate like a pot of coffee. And I really like that. And I think the important thing to remember is I've been in sometimes hour-long, 90-minute-long meetings where you're trying to get the answer defined in that meeting. And my brain doesn't really work like that. And I think it's trying to force it. You end up with the wrong stuff coming out of it. I think it's better sometimes to spend 25, 30 minutes doing this process and then come back to it later that day or the next day with a bit more clarity, and I think it makes things easier.
Yeah, and a book that I love, a copywriting book, the Joe Sugarman Adweek Copywriter's Handbook. He talks in there about, and he's like OG copywriter from back in the day, where their copy had to be that good that people would read it in a newspaper, cut out a coupon, then send a check with said coupon and hope that the product arrived back. So you had to be pretty damn good back then. And his process for writing copy was get all the information out of your head about what you know, and then just leave it. And like you say, let it percolate. And then the magic happens, and then at the most inappropriate moments, whether you're in a shower or driving or something, things will start sparking, you get good ideas.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times recently. I've been falling asleep and I've had a thought, and I just think, well, I could start thinking about the sales letter for this actually, and I have to force myself to get my phone out and write it down, because I know if I don't, otherwise I go, oh, remember that, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, fuck, what was that
Yeah,
thing?
you got no chance.
No.
Cool.
Fantastic.
I think that's it for now.
Hopefully it's recorded.
Say again?
Hopefully it's recorded, the whole thing. We need to work
Hopefully.
out, I think the microphones are going to be, if we put the tables between, because then it's going to be more here, because when I'm talking to you, I'm conscious that I'm trying to still talking to the mic, whereas if it was on this side, I would naturally be talking into it.
Or you could do what I did and be absolutely not conscious that it's even there, and it's probably not picking up the sound.
Perfect. Fantastic. Remember, Jay used to make us put them very close to our mouth as well. I don't know how close they should technically be. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you have, I am Big Fish. This is Adam Shaved Head Ashburn.
Let us know, actually, if that was good to listen to or you found it valuable, because like we do this sort of stuff in terms of when we're marketing our business, when we're marketing, doing stuff for clients, we have conversations like this all the time about very specific elements of marketing. And if it's useful to hear, we'll just record it. And if it's shit and boring, we won't bother.
Absolutely.
See you later. Bye.